You have been working hard, maybe too hard, 60 hours a week, watching every dollar, cutting every expense, grinding through exhaustion, and your bank account still looks the same. Or worse, it looks smaller. And somewhere deep inside, a terrifying question has started to surface. What if working harder is not the answer? Here is the truth Neville Goddard taught that will either disturb you or set you free tonight. Working 60 hours a week to change your bank account is exactly like trying to comb your hair by brushing the bathroom mirror. The mirror is not your hair. Your debts are not the problem. Your boss is not the problem. Your bank balance is not the cause of anything. It is a reflection, a delayed three-dimensional photograph of who you have been on the inside. The physical world is the mirror. You are the face standing in front of it. And tonight, we are going to break that mirror. Neville Goddard spent decades teaching one radical idea. Your outer world, every dollar, every relationship, every wall you keep hitting, is nothing more than your inner world pushed outward into solid form. When you understand this fully, everything changes. Not slowly, suddenly. Because you stop fighting shadows and start changing the face that casts them. Stay with this. What you are about to hear is not motivation. It is metaphysics, and it works. Most people will spend their entire lives fighting the reflection. They argue with their bank statements. They resent their employers. They obsess over the news, the economy, the interest rates, the circumstances. And every single hour they spend fighting the outer world is an hour they spend feeding it more energy, more attention, more belief. That is why nothing changes. Not because they are unlucky, because they are unknowingly reinforcing the very thing they are trying to escape. Neville Goddard identified this as the central error of human experience. He called it living inside the dream without knowing you are dreaming. The world feels real. The debt feels real. The limitation feels real. And because it feels real, you treat it as the cause. But Neville was absolutely clear on this. The outer world has no causative power whatsoever. None. This is the first concept you must absorb. EIIPO. Everyone is you pushed out. It is one of the most radical ideas in the entire metaphysical tradition. It states that every person you encounter, every circumstance you experience, every obstacle that appears to block your path, is a projection of your own consciousness, not a punishment from the universe, not random misfortune, a projection. The people who dismiss you, who underpay you, who overlook your potential, they are not acting independently of you. They are reflecting back the image you hold of yourself in the deep chambers of your own mind. Think about that slowly. If your boss treats you like someone easily replaced, it is not because your boss decided that independently. It is because somewhere within your accepted self-concept, you believe you are replaceable. The world did not create that belief. You did. And the world simply agreed with you. It always agrees with you. That is not philosophy. That is law. Neville said it plainly. He taught that the world is yourself pushed out. So the honest question becomes not what is the world doing to me, but what am I pushing out? Most people have built their entire financial and emotional life on top of a self-concept that was handed to them by other people, by parents who struggled, by a society that equates worth with labor, by years of accumulated evidence that kept confirming the same tired story. And because the outer world kept reflecting that story back, the belief grew stronger. The reflection looked more real. The cycle deepened. It fed itself. You did not choose that original program. But here is the critical shift. You are choosing, right now in this moment, whether to keep running it. The law does not negotiate with your effort. It does not reward your discipline or punish your laziness. It only responds to your state of being. And your state of being is simply the identity you have accepted as true about yourself in this moment. Change the identity. The reflection has no choice but to change. That is not a motivational slogan. That is the structure of reality as Neville Goddard understood and taught it for more than 30 years. Now the teaching goes deeper. Neville Goddard did not just theorize about this law, he lived it, tested it, and documented case after case of ordinary people who used it to produce extraordinary reversals in their physical circumstances. But one of his most powerful teachings was not about what to do. It was about understanding why people keep failing even when they try. He taught that the three-dimensional world operates on a delay. Consciousness moves first. Physical reality follows. The gap between the inner shift and the outer confirmation is what most people misinterpret as proof that the method does not work. They assume that because nothing has changed yet in the mirror, nothing is changing at all. And so they abandon the new identity. They return to the old story. And the mirror, obedient as it always is, returns to the old face. Pay attention here, because this is where most people stumble. Neville used a precise biblical reference to anchor this understanding. The scripture in James, chapter 1, verse 23, describes a man who looks into a mirror, sees his face, and then walks away, and immediately forgets what he looked like. Neville taught that this is exactly what most people do with their desired identity. They glimpse it in a moment of inspiration. They feel it briefly, perhaps during a meditation or a moment of quiet clarity. And then they walk back into the noise of daily life, look at their circumstances, and immediately forget the new face they were trying to build. The mirror of the world is not showing you who you are becoming. It is showing you who you were. There is a lag built into the structure of this law. Every manifestation you see today in your bank account, your relationships, your health, is old consciousness made visible. It is old news printed in physical form. Nothing more. This is not discouraging. This is the most liberating thing you can hear tonight. It means your current circumstances are not evidence of your current state. They are evidence of your past state, a state that no longer exists unless you choose to keep living inside it. Neville told the story of a woman who came to him convinced that poverty was her fate. She listed every reason: her family background, her age, her lack of formal education, her failed attempts, and Neville responded with a question that stopped her completely. He asked, "Who told you that you were poor? Not the bank, not your employer. Who inside of you decided that this was the identity you would wear, as if it were skin?" Because the law does not negotiate with your circumstances. It responds only to your assumptions about yourself. William Blake, whom Neville called one of the great mystical seers of the English language, understood this architecture centuries before Neville put it into modern speech. Blake wrote that a man is what he imagines himself to be, not what he earns, not what he owns, not what others have decided about him, what he imagines. Blake and Neville were pointing at the same invisible engine driving the visible world, and neither of them was speaking in metaphor. You are not experiencing lack because of your bank account. You have a limited bank account because of the poverty you have accepted inside your concept of self. Reverse that sequence and you reverse everything. Neville described the self-concept as the supreme cause of all outward experience. He said that if you could truly see yourself as wealthy, not perform wealth for others, not wish for wealth from a distance, but inwardly accept it as a settled fact of your being, the outer world would reorganize itself around that new fact. Not as a reward for good behavior, as a reflection. Because the law is impersonal. It mirrors what is. not what you deserve. The fatal error is fighting the shadows. The remedy is changing the face that casts them. Here is where everything becomes practical. Neville Goddard called it the law of assumption. It is the precise mechanism by which the mirror is reset. The law states this: assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not the hope that it will be fulfilled, not the prayer that it might one day arrive, the assumption that it already is, fully, internally, right now. Most people hesitate here. They say they cannot assume they are wealthy when there is $40 in their account. And this objection reveals the exact error Neville spent his life correcting. You are confusing the mirror with the face. You are using the reflection as permission to feel a certain way. But the law runs in reverse. You must feel it first. The reflection follows the feeling. Always. Without a single exception. There is a radical difference between wishing and assuming. Wishing keeps you at a distance. It implies separation. It says, I want this, but I do not have it. And the mirror faithfully records that distance and reflects it back as continued lack. Assuming collapses the distance entirely. Assuming says, within the interior world, it is done. It is mine. It is already real at the only level that actually creates anything. Think of it this way. Neville referred to the inner world as the fourth dimension throughout his lectures. It has no spatial coordinates, no visible walls, no bank statements, but it is more real than anything you can currently touch. Because everything you can touch was built there first. Your home, your income, your relationships, everything that exists in the three-dimensional world was first constructed in the fourth. The practice Neville gave is called living in the end. The end is not the path toward having what you desire. It is the actual felt reality of already being it. He taught his students to enter that state each night before sleep, because sleep is the threshold between the conscious and subconscious minds. And the subconscious mind is what actually produces the outer world. It does not reason. It does not evaluate your intentions or weigh your worthiness. It only externalizes what it accepts as true. So when you fall asleep feeling wealthy, feeling seen, feeling free, the subconscious does not debate you. It accepts that as instruction. And it begins silently and efficiently to reorganize the outer world to match. This is what Neville meant by the pearl of great price. He referenced the biblical parable of the merchant who found one pearl of such extraordinary value that he sold everything he owned to acquire it. Neville taught that the pearl is the new identity, and buying it means giving up the old story completely. Not negotiating with it, not keeping one foot in the old narrative while reaching toward the new one. Selling everything. Letting the identity built on lack dissolve entirely and fully investing in the identity of the person who already has. You cannot hold both identities simultaneously and expect the mirror to change. The old identity feels safe because it is familiar. But familiarity is not truth. It is repetition. And repetition is not reality. It is a habit. Habits break when a stronger assumption takes their place. Neville also introduced a technique he called revision. Each evening, you review the events of the day and rewrite them in your imagination as you wish they had been. A difficult conversation becomes encouraging. A rejection becomes an acceptance. A troubling bank notification becomes one that brings deep relief. You are not practicing denial. You are inserting a new cause into the causal layer of reality. Because the subconscious does not distinguish between a vividly imagined event and an observed one. Both carry equal weight in the fourth dimension. You are not lying to yourself. You are instructing the only part of yourself that actually builds the world. Now bring this into your actual financial life. Do not leave it suspended in the abstract. Dr. Joseph Murphy, whose work runs parallel to Neville's teachings in remarkable ways, said something that connects this law to modern wealth with extraordinary precision. He taught that the subconscious mind is the builder of circumstance, and it always acts upon the dominant impression it receives. That word, dominant, carries everything. Not the impression you hold once in a meditation, the impression you hold most often, most deeply, most repeatedly through the course of an ordinary day. This is why willpower alone cannot change your finances long term. You can discipline your spending, track every dollar, follow every strategy in every financial book ever written, and still return to the same cycle. Because beneath your conscious effort, the dominant impression running in the subconscious is still the old one. The one that says money is scarce. The one that says wealthy people are fundamentally different from you. The one that has been playing, unexamined, for years. Here is the modern application. You already know how to make something feel completely real in your imagination. You do it every time you lie awake at 3 in the morning with a debt you cannot pay, feeling the weight of it in your chest as if it is physically crushing you. That sensation is not coming from the bill. The bill is paper sitting in a drawer. The physical feeling of dread is being generated entirely by your imagination. You created it. That is how powerful your imaginative faculty already is. Now apply that same creative power in the other direction. Neville Goddard taught his students to create what he called a scene implying the wish fulfilled. Not a vague feeling of being generally wealthier someday. A specific, sensory, emotionally saturated scene. The felt reality of a particular conversation where someone acknowledges your success. The physical sensation of opening a bank notification and feeling ease instead of fear. The sound of a confirmation. The weight of relief settling into your body. One scene, repeated in the state before sleep, with emotional conviction and no apology. This is not fantasy. This is precision engineering in the 4th dimension. Abdullah, the teacher who profoundly shaped Neville's understanding of these laws, reportedly told Neville something that permanently altered the direction of his life. When Neville desired deeply to travel to Barbados, but had no money and no visible path forward, Abdullah refused to engage with the logistics at all. He simply affirmed the done state, as if Neville were already there. Neville persisted in that assumption. Within weeks, the funds appeared, a ticket materialized through an unexpected channel, and he made the journey exactly as he had assumed he would. Not through planning, through assumption held without wavering. The law is not selective about magnitude. It does not find $100,000 more difficult to produce than 100. The only variable is your capacity to assume the state fully and sustain it without collapsing back into the old story every time the mirror is slow to change. Do not fight your current circumstances. Do not try to fix the reflection. Turn your back on the mirror. Walk into the 4th dimension. Build the new face there with imagination, with assumption, with the emotional certainty of someone who already knows the outcome. And when you walk back out, the mirror will have no choice but to show you something new. That is not metaphor. That is the structure of creation, as Neville Goddard understood it, and as every true mystic who came before him understood it too. Everything in this video points to one truth that Neville never tired of repeating. You are not trying to get money from the world. You are dissolving a false self-concept and installing a true one. The wealth, the freedom, the expanded life you want. These are not rewards at the end of a long path of effort. They are reflections waiting on the other side of an internal shift you can make tonight, in the dark, before sleep, in the privacy of your own imagination where no one else has jurisdiction over you. The shift is not a technique you perform once and then forget. It is a new way of inhabiting yourself. Stop negotiating with the mirror. The reflection has no independent power. It is obedient. It shows you exactly what you bring to it. So bring it the face of someone who is already wealthy, already free, already at ease in this world. Not performing that for anyone outside. Feeling it on the inside, where the law actually reads you. Because as Neville Goddard taught, the world is a mirror, forever reflecting what you are doing within yourself. And once you change what you are doing within yourself, the mirror changes. It has no other option. Neville said it with the quiet authority of someone who had tested this law against the hardest circumstances life could produce. He said, "Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and observe the route that infinite intelligence takes to objectify it. You do not manage the route. You do not strategize the how. You hold the identity. The universal substance that breathes form into being arranges everything else. Your only function is to be the person who already has, not the person still waiting. There is something worth sitting with before you sleep tonight." Every mystical tradition Neville drew from, Kabbalah, the Blake lineage, the scripture he interpreted with such fierce precision, they all converge on the same invisible point. The inner world is the real world. Everything visible is downstream of it. You were never meant to be a victim of your own reflection. You were meant to be its author. So tonight the practice is simple. Before you close your eyes, enter the scene. Feel the wealth as settled fact. Hear the words that confirm it. Let the relief live in your body, not as a wish, but as a memory of something already real. Rest in that state. Let sleep carry it into the subconscious where the building happens. And when morning comes, do not let the old mirror pull you back. You already know what it is showing you. You already know it is old news. If something in this transmission moved something inside you, even cracked the old story open by a fraction, then you are already on the other side of the shift. This channel, the Goddard Code, exists to walk that path with you week after week. Every video here is built to take you deeper into the laws that actually produce change in your life. Not inspiration that fades by Tuesday, but metaphysical understanding that permanently rewires how you see yourself and what the world can show you. Subscribe now. Turn on the notification. Join a growing community of people who have decided to stop fighting the reflection and start owning the face. We will see you in the next transmission. And carry this with you. Neville Goddard did not leave us a self-help system. He left us a revelation about the nature of reality itself. A revelation he summarized in words so simple, they almost hide how completely they overturn everything you were ever taught. He said, "You are already that which you want to be, and your refusal to believe this is the only reason you do not see it. The mirror is waiting. Change your face."